All right, folks. Hello, my name is Eric. I'm with Success Over Stress. This is a how-to on understanding what's going on when you resize a chart, and hopefully you can get some use out of it. You see, I have a label on my chart here. This is something that I keep on all my charts, keep it locked. It lets me know, especially when I'm on a chart that has, or a workspace that has multiple charts. If I'm on the 1 minute time frame, I want to know that that chart's supposed to be on the 1 minute time frame, and it's not on the right time frame. If I switch it to any other time frame other than the 1 minute, it's going to light up red. Put it back on the 1 minute, lights up blue. But in any case, this is anchored to the top left-hand side of the screen. If you want to anchor this to the top right-hand side of the screen, something like that, then we're going to talk about that today. And the problem is when you have a chart that's not full size window, the full window size, this position moves. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to make sure that you can keep that in the right position. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're just going to draw the object. What did I do up here? There we go. Okay, so in order to do that, we're going to use ELSystem.Drawing. If I can type today. And then also we're going to use, we've already got ChartingHost set up on the chart on this page. So ChartingHost is here. We pulled that down out of the toolbox. You want to pull out ChartingHost. So you just double click on that. That'll give you a ChartingHost here. Go over to properties, and I want to have an event that populates when I size the chart. Okay, so first I'm just going to show you what happens when you size the chart. So print new size. We'll just put new size, and we'll go 0, 1, and then we'll do X 0, Y 1. This is args. What happened here is when we resize the chart, the sender is the ChartingHost, and so we can get information from that, such as the width and args.height. Okay, so we're going to put that in curly brackets, verify that, come over here, open up our print log. So the new size is X691, Y663. Now if we resize this, we're going to get new printouts that says that the Y is the same. The height of this chart is the same, but the X-axis is getting bigger. When I make the chart bigger, this number gets bigger. Okay, and the anchor, when we talk about XY points, we're starting from the top left-hand side of the screen. So up here, that's your X-axis, and that's your Y-axis. Okay. Now, if we adjust this print log, this window moves. That size moves, so it got smaller. So your Y got smaller. Okay. So that's what we're going to use to move our label. So what we're going to do now is using ELSystem. Oh, well, we already have that there. So good. We're just going to have a variable. It's going to be text label. I'll call it T label. Declare it with null. And then we're going to have a one statement block that instantiates the T label as text label.create. We're going to use, there's 7 ways that you can initialize this. Okay, so we can initialize and instantiate it at the same time. So we're going to use an XY point create, and we're just going to take a guess here. We're going to go out. If we click on this, we can see that the XY point says 15 and 20. So it's 15 over, 20 down. So we're going to go out 40 and 40. We'll do that. So 40, 40, 40, and then we're going to just title it 1 minute. Close that, and yeah, that's the only one we need. Okay, now we need to attach this text label to the chart. Drawing objects, add T label, verify. You see it shows up right here. It's not locked, so that's fine. We're going to move it to here, and you see now it says that the XY position is 684 and 35. So we're going to change this to 684, and we leave it at 40. Okay. So now when we re-verify this, it shows up right here. Okay. Re-verify it, shows up here. Now the problem here is if we resize this, it disappears. Why does it disappear? Because this 684 is based off this top left. And just because our chart is now shorter than 684, it's actually 628. This 684 technically doesn't exist on this client window size. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to say, well, if we resize the window, then we need to be paying attention to this window size. We need to pay attention to this window width, and we need to adjust accordingly. So we'll just assume right now that this position is, well, we can say this last position here, the X is 880, and if we look at this, this is saying that our X position is 782, so it's about 100 off. Okay, so what we're going to say is anytime we resize the window, let's move this text label to be in 100 off of this right side. This right side, we can find the X position just by getting the width. Okay, so if we resize the chart, what we're going to do is we're going to say if we do have a text label, then begin. If we do have a text label, then we're going to change that text label position. T-label dot set point value, and there's only one way to set it. We can use a date time point, a bar number point, or an XY point. Now we started off using the XY point when we made it, so we really need to use the XY point again. If you don't, crazy things happen. Take my word for it. Whatever point you start with, whatever DO point you start with, you want to use that subsequently. So whatever drawing object point you start with, you want to use it when you make any changes. So we'll use the XY point, .create, and now what is the position of the X? Well, we said it's going to be the width minus 100. So args.width minus 100. And then what is the position of the height? Well, we know that the height is 40, so we can just put 40 in here, but that's not the intuitive way to do it. Now when we hit verify, now we come over here and now it moves. So every time we resize the chart, this text label moves to 100 points off of the right axis, off the right margin. Okay, so if I put 40 here, if you have a long program, you might not be able to keep up with this 40 or where this 40 is. Now you can make it a constant, or you can make it a variable. You could do a lot of different things. What you could simply do is just say, I don't know, this might change somewhere down the road, but I know it will be attached to the text label. So what I'll do is I'll just say T-label dot point value, and now you have information about the point value, but you don't have the X or Y. So if we hit dot, you have the price and the point type. But because we do have the points, we'll pull that out. We'll use a XY point called XYP. And so if we do have a text label, then we'll just take a XYP and we'll say, all right, well, give me the text label, give me the points of position 0. We only have 1 point with a text label. With a rectangle or an ellipse, you have 2 points, but with a vertical line, horizontal line, or text label, you only have 1 point. All right, so we're going to get this point as a XY point. Okay, so now we have this. Now we have the point that was initially set. We have that point. It's an XY point. We assign it to XYP. So now that we have that point, we can say XYP dot, we want that Y position. And it's going to give us the 40, right? Now we hit verify. And so you see, it looked like we did a lot of work to still get the same functionality. But I'm telling you, if you have a longer program or if this position changes, then you're going to want to see how I did there. If I moved it, I'm changing the y-axis, but I'm still keeping it the same position. Whenever I resize the chart, it's still the same y-axis. It's just that the x-axis changes. Okay, so now one other thing, if we start here, you see I re-verified. Now when I move the chart, it stays within 100 points of the margin. But if I start the chart over here and I want to re-verify, now it disappears. Well, why did it disappear? Because we started at 684. The width of the chart is 564. So again, it disappeared. We need it to show up when we start the chart, whether it's full screen or whether it's a resized version. Okay, anytime we resize, it'll show up. So we need to find out what the size of the chart is before or on our first run. Now, this information here, this resizing of the chart comes from the ChartingHost resize, the onsize event. So we don't have access to the args width down here in the main part of the chart. This is the main part of the chart. Where we were working at before was the method. Okay, and that method is local, so nobody really has access to it. All right, so in order to get the width here, we just use the charting host information. chost.client window dot width. Okay, so that's going to be the width of the chart, just like up here, the width. Now, what do we want to do? We want to come 100 points off that right margin. 100. Verify. Now, whenever we start the program, it puts us at 100 points off the margin. And when we resize, it stays anchored. Again, I'll make some corrections here. We'll restart the chart, and it anchors right there, 100 points off, and it stays there 100 points off. Okay, now the only other thing you might want to do is lock the object. TLabel.lock equals true. We could go TLabel.font equals font. Let's see. What are we going to have to use here? ELSystem. Isn't ELSystem. Oh, no, it's drawing. ELSystem.Drawing. Everything has a different namespace, right? Drawing, I don't think it's drawing object. Lots of things have different namespaces, so in order to get to like the font, you have to use, I thought it was ELSystem.Drawing, but it's not. That's not even coming up. ELSystem.Drawing. There it goes. All right. Well, so I probably didn't spell it right. ELSystem.Drawing.font dot create. Then we'll use the. You can go the name and the size, or you can go the name, the size, font style, or you can go the name, size, style, graphic unit. So there's a couple different things. So we're going to use. I think I use time. I'm gonna get that wrong if I do Times New Roman, because you have to name it just right, and I don't. Let me see if I can pull up the options. Yeah, because I know Arial, but if I try Times New Roman, I bet I'll get it wrong. Times New. Is it Times New Roman? All right, let's try that. Times New Roman, we're going to do 14, and then we're going to do font style, where we have to go ELSystem.Drawing.font style.bold. and close that. Okay, so Times New Roman was right. Or I think it was right. I don't think it's right because that doesn't look like Times New Roman. All right, but if we change this back to Arial, we get that. All right, let me pull up. Times New Roman. I know Georgia is one. I like Georgia. Yeah, Georgia looks good. That, like I said, there's Times New Roman. All right, so but now because we made it bold and we made it larger, it's a little bit. It's being clipped. So instead of going 100 off, we might need to adjust this on the fly. Okay, so what you can do is just put an input, and then you can put right margin offset, and I imagine it'll be about 130, and that'll be an input. Copy that, paste, paste. Now puts it there, and then to make it a little cleaner, you might say tooltip is equal to offset from right margin. Okay, verify that. I'll show you what that does. That comes over here, and when you click on your screen resize, when you hover over this, it'll say offset from right margin. Now this looks kind of weird. Right margin offset, that's the input from the program, right? That's how I want it to show up in the program, but I might not want it to show up right here like this. So for that, we do display name equals margin offset. This just helps clean it up a little bit. Doesn't really change the functionality. So, and then you put a comma. Okay. So now, imagine I have to close this out, come back into it. Now when I hover over that input, you see it says margin offset, and then it says offset from right margin. Okay. Change that to 150. It moves our anchor. And then of course it stays anchored wherever we move to. Okay, so this is just a cool little way to keep your chart clean, to keep it informative, and to be able to use your methods, event handlers, and any of the other tools that you have at your disposal. All right, folks, hope you got something out of this. If you do, be sure to look through the rest of the library or the how-tos for more information, tips, and useful videos. I'm Eric. I'm out. Peace.